Hello everyone, welcome back to Friday Learning with BMV. Today we have a special guest, Simona Zanette. Good morning, Simona.
Morning.
Welcome to this episode of Friday Learning. I'm very happy that you're here with us today. We have known each other for a while now, since my very early days as an entrepreneur. And I remember our first conversation at IAB event. And since then I was like, okay, this lady is super smart. No matter what, I'm going to talk to this lady. So I'm really happy to share this with the audience that is going to watch this video. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to talk about what we have been doing in these years and the situation, the current situation. And if this can inspire anyone, it would be even better.
Perfect. So just a few words about Simona. So Simona is in the publishing sector. She's managing director of digital at Hearst. She has been in the publishing industry 2 or 3 years. For a while.
I wish.
She's definitely an expert in the industry. Very well known for her digital approach and digital skills, and especially on the vision. And if you wanna just tell a bit more about you, and then we're gonna get to the points.
Yeah, sure. I started more or less 20 years ago working in the communication world, and then I moved to the publishing world 15 years ago at Condé Nast in the beginning, and I've been working both on the digital and on the print side, and in different countries. I've been in the UK, in Russia, France, and Italy for Condé. Then I moved to a pure digital player that was part of the Axel Springer group and was called Au Féminin, a French vertical on mothers and babies, etc. And I opened up the Italian branch in 2010. Then I left, and in 2015 I joined Hearst, and we started this experiment that was inspired by the Singularity University concept. So whenever you want something new to grow, just take it out from the original headquarter and try to grow it separately and then bring it back. And this is what we did. So basically, we took the digital part, both editorial and of commercial production, and moved it to Switzerland. We started in 2015. We were 4 people. Today we are 50 people, and we are doing quite well. And maybe it's at the moment to reorganize and get back to the main headquarters and contaminate with the print side of our business. In the meantime, and you mentioned IAB where we met, is because I've been president of IAB Italy for 3 years, and after that 2 years of my mandate were at the European IAB and working on the cookie law. So the previous one before the GDPR, it's kind of my fault, I would say. So this is more or less my experience of today.
Well, that's an amazing experience. And what I like actually of your experience is not just, I mean, it's really, really important what you did, but the way that you do it. I think that you always do things with a smile in a very visionary way, but it seems everything is easy. It's like, yeah, I just did this, that, whatever. It's it's not easy, but I really appreciate, because it's a very nice way to look at things and to make things happen, which is the most important at the end of the day.
You know what? I think that in the digital world, if you fear to fail, you will never go anywhere, because there's so many new things every time and every day, and so many new experiences, and you have no historical data. So the approach can only be to try and see if it works or if it doesn't, and if it doesn't, to change it and move ahead. And as far as the smile is concerned, I believe that this is a job that is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in the sense that in communication, you take inspiration from whatever you do in your life, in your private life, when you go out shopping, when you watch a movie, etc. Therefore, you need a lot of passion to do it. Otherwise, you're not going to be inspired enough sometimes to face all the challenges that this type of job takes with it.
Speaking of challenges and opportunities, there is one thing that I saw in the news, which is you've been experiencing plus 30% in growth. And when I saw it at first, I was like, she did it again. I mean, everybody is minus something or zero, or at best zero, or maybe plus a small number, which is already a good result. I mean, 2020 was tough for everyone. I mean, every single business. So if the businesses were still at zero, it's a really great result. And boom, Simona comes with plus 30%. I mean, how did you do the magic? I mean, kudos to you.
Well, I must say that when beginning of March, this COVID situation hit all of us, I remember that weekend before the lockdown, because we had like 3 board of directors over the weekend, and I was trapped in my parents' houses because my mom was sick, etc. And I spent actually the first lockdown over there because I couldn't move back to my place. And for sure, the first week was like, oh gosh, what are we gonna do? We had so many projects. Imagine that on the live events field, I became head of Hearst Live as well, January 2020, and we had a very huge calendar. Yeah, I know, lucky girl. And we had a huge calendar of events throughout the year that, of course, we had to revise. So after the first couple of days of shock, then I tried to apply to reassure the guys and to apply the method that I usually use, and it's whenever you need to work with the tools that you are given, and you cannot spend time thinking, or if I had, or if it was. It doesn't happen that way. So we try to focus on the fact that we could, in some way, in creative ways, to develop all the digital projects that we had in mind, in any case. And I probably was lucky enough to work with a bunch of people who followed me. So after, as I said, a couple of weeks of really not knowing what to do and where to go, we tried to resume, and we scheduled a very tight calendar of internal meetings via Zoom or Teams, etc., and moments also of leisure in order to make everybody feel in the same situation, but with a smile. So just the morning coffee, for example, all together at 9:30, and actually the motto was, we can make it happen. I must say that if someone would have asked me to sign off for a plus 30% in March, I would have said, no way.
Mental.
So I said, guys, the objective is at least let's try to do what we did in 2019. So that was the objective. And I can tell you that we did one of the best campaigns for, I don't know if I can quote brands, but for Max Mara Eyewear in April. And it was done with the director and the project manager sitting at their place in Italy, the illustrator sitting in London, and the photographer and the model sitting in LA.
Wow.
And it's one of the best work that we did. And I think that pushing the guys to the extreme and seeing the results has made them understand that I was not crazy, and that could be done. Of course, the fact of being at home and not having much more to do than focusing on your job, on your work, on creative ideas, on new solutions was on one hand challenging but interesting, because going back to discover illustrators, for example, or how can I shoot this object while I'm home, or which kind of creative setup can we figure out with the fact that we cannot go out, we cannot go to the studio, etc., etc. So on one side, we were lucky of the fact that everybody was concentrated on working. I think we produced even more documents that we have been producing last year in 2019. And in the end, the more you eat and the more you like what you eat, the more you want. And so basically then it was a virtuous circle, and then we realized that we had done not only as many successful projects as in 2019, but even more. And and yes, we had done a plus 30%. So
Yeah,
that's it.
that's amazing. You just didn't show to your team that you could do a zero. You did, like by fact, you actually got to 30. I mean, 10 was brilliant. 20, wow. 30 is like, oh my God. I get a lot of people are going to be happy and especially like empowered to do their best with whatever the situation, and using the creativity as the spin to get to the objective, rather than sitting tight and try to make things happen if they like as they were before. Because I saw a lot of times that it's like, okay, you keep doing your things and then it's just doesn't work. And yeah, you don't have the budget, make it happen. You need to be creative. You don't have the location, you don't have something. Well, that's like being in a startup, an entrepreneur, like, or starting up a division. That's definitely the same. Being from 4 people to 50, you definitely experience that.
Well, I think that the startup approach is the one that can save some of the big companies. And I was very much inspired during the first lockdown by, for example, Vodafone, who produced the campaign again, thinking out of the boxes, because they basically taught to normal people how to shoot a video from home, and then they built up and managed to have a creative campaign that was very successful. And of course, I believe that both thinking out of the boxes and trying different things is what helps in these challenging moments.
Yeah, it's the way out. That's the best way out. It might fail. It might. There's always the chance. But if once you try it and you know that it could as well work very well, then you keep trying. And I think it's a mindset thing that's very important in an organization anyway.
You've got nothing to lose in a situation like this. Well, as you said, clients, especially, you can imagine our biggest bunch of clients is fashion and luxury. And in this moment, it's so tough for them. So what we started is also working for what we call non-endemic to Hearst clients, so food, so finance, so banks, etc. And we brought our different point of view to companies that were used again to communicate in a traditional way, and helped some of them to change the way they were communicating. And I believe that this has been a huge learning curve this year. And I still am convinced that we have done something amazing. I'm so proud of my guys. Young talents who felt really involved, etc. But I also believe that if I look at the print side of our business, that unfortunately is losing money like for every publisher, I still believe that doing things differently has paid off.
definitely a very good approach, and I mean, numbers are showing the results. Actually, now that you were talking about luxury, I remember that during the first wave, I was reading a research from a researcher professor from London Business School, and that was very interesting because especially in luxury, there was a big need because people that could afford the luxury goods, they were at home, they weren't spending as usual money as they would, but they weren't able to actually spend it. So they wanted to spend the money. So, but they didn't know how. So, I mean, and the learning for me there was like, with that type of crisis, I mean, you need to innovate because as a luxury brand or whatever brand that has that opportunity, and because the need is there, you need to reinvent how you get your customer. Like, you need to invest in that because I was amazed by the fact that luxury was definitely hit, but not because people didn't want to buy the goods. It was also because they couldn't. I mean, they couldn't travel and buy goods. They didn't know how to do it. So you need to reinvent the experience because who
Yeah.
wants to buy the goods are there. So you need to communicate differently. You need to get to them because they're going to buy the goods. So it's a different approach to the market, which is changing the way that we are doing things, but it doesn't mean that we don't want to do things.
Yeah, and I mean,
Very
to back up what you just said, I was attending a conference last week with luxury brands CEOs, and the CEO of Ferretti, that is offshores, basically was saying that they lost 10% versus sales 2019, and especially one of the attitudes that came up from their customer was that basically they wanted to travel, they wanted to travel safely, so having a yacht or an offshore boat was one of the, like, creating a private island for them. And so they had to as well find a different approach of selling this type of goods and of people using it, because I mean, for sure, in the economic crisis that is at present, but is gonna follow up with the after the health crisis, and we know it that sooner or later is gonna hit us. Unfortunately, there's still a part of the world that goes on as if nothing has happened, and so there's a need of from company to communicate. But for example, on the other end, we had in May one of our clients that is a high street brand, and they had the entire production of bath costumes and summer clothes, etc. For them is made in China, so all the goods were stuck there, and yeah, so
that's
they had
panic.
nothing.
That's
Yeah, that's panic, and they didn't know what to do and how to communicate, blah, blah, blah. So we said, wait a second, you must have for sure prototypes in-house, because you have prototypes and you have the drawings. So let's try to build up a communication using the drawings and using the prototypes. So we sent some of the prototypes to some influencers, and we engaged with a couple of very good illustrators that from the drawing took out the idea of the campaign. So again,
yeah,
you need to,
you have to.
yeah, you have to make it happen in some way. It's not going to be perfect. It's not probably going to be what you wanted. It's not going to be what you had in mind. But still, again, we shot the two last campaigns for Moschino Kids, and of course, one of the themes that they bring up every time is all these happy kids playing together, hugging each other, blah blah blah. And we said, well, we have an issue. Unless we take all brothers and sisters, we have an issue. And so we came up, they were like frozen. Oh gosh, what are we gonna do? We don't want single kids shot, etc., etc. I said, wait a second, no problem. We use a neutral backdrop. We shoot the kids independently, and then we put them together. And the result was in an animation. No one would guess that they were not shot together. So again, you need to get out of your usual path and find a way. And this pays back, as you said. It pays back.
Yeah,
It's a lot of work. It was much more work than
that
last
is.
year.
Yeah,
Much more
creativity is
work.
not easy.
No, no,
That's easy, but
no.
it's rewarding. And well, I saw, for example, now that you were saying from the brand side, I saw that because we all know we are all in the same situation. So it's not just decision makers, it's buyers. We are all in the same thing. I saw as well like some brands accept the fact that it will not be perfect, which is it was impossible. I mean, until like February, if you say something not to be perfect, they are gonna say, okay, move on. Who's next? It's just not acceptable. But now, and I saw from March onwards, I saw that brands they understood they needed to be there for their clients, their community, their prospects, like just be there as a brand. That was a value already. And I saw it up to banks, like live streaming on YouTube or doing how to that were not perfectly made. But as far as they were there, that was the importance of it. So, and I think it's a very big change. And I guess it's going to be back to being perfect at a certain point, and that's fair enough. But the value that came out from there was like being close and being authentic to your people and your community. And I think it's a big change, and that's important because people would remember who was there for them. The brands, I mean, that being there for the people when they need you, it's very important for today, but for the future especially.
Absolutely. And the other thing that will remain, even when we go back to perfect, is in our case, sustainability. I mean, also from an editorial perspective, when you do a shooting or a video, in the past we were used to move around the world just to shoot the best beach that we saw in North Africa with tons of things. How many clothes are you gonna take? I don't know, like 10 suitcases for 3 looks, and you go like, yeah, then what if I need this and that? We have learned to rationalize. We have learned that there's no need to travel around the world carrying around a lot of stuff just for the sake of it. And so this way, Earth actually had already started a road to sustainability. Our office is plastic free, et cetera, et cetera. But now we are also trying to apply it to the way we work. And so I'm sure that this is something that will remain. And I'm very happy about the fact that it will remain because we have learned how to work organizing it better in the beginning, and no waste of time, no waste of people, no waste of material, just focusing and organizing and then getting to the result. And I'm very happy because you know what, the positive people used to call me the half full glass princess, and
Which is a
because
good thing.
yeah, I know, and I'm not naive at all, but I'm just trying to see the best part of things every time. And in this situation, I think that for sure, if there was no COVID, and it's not that I'm happy that there is the COVID, but if this situation had not happened, uh, most probably on one side, we would have not done this digital evolution that we have done internally at the company and also outside. And second, we would have not understood that we had reached the limit and even overpassed the limit of stressing the planet and stressing everybody else's life. So I'm quite happy about the result.
It was a very good global exercise that we all had to do with some
Yeah.
learning. And looking to the future, so where do you see the opportunities from a publishing perspective, like in the industry in general, from a technological point of view, from a business model point of view? Where do you see opportunities?
Well, I think that first of all, the acceptance that things can be both physical and digital. I'm not going to use the new word that everybody is using, that's digital, because I don't like it. But what we have learned is that, and what I think is it's going to remain in the future is that we can develop things both staying in a physical location and working digitally. This will affect the smart working concept. So you do not have to be forcefully every day in the office, though you need it because sometimes, even especially in creatives, you need to get together and throw things on the table and look around. It's a very physical work. On the other hand, for example, on the event side, we're gonna keep on whenever it's going to be possible, we are going to start to go back to physical events, but we are going to keep the digital part because if you are concentrating all the activities in one town, the possibility of broadcasting them digitally will allow people from other parts of the country to attend the event. And so, I mean, becoming a little bit less concentrated on Milan, in our case, being based in Italy. And from a communication perspective, I think that the focus on data and on the appropriate communication for the right target is going to be affecting all our activities. So this is more or less the plan for the future.
Brilliant. And in terms of technologies or like approaches to, is there anything that you saw that is going to be interesting in general, like not just from a Hearst point of view, but like in the publishing sector that you think is
Oh,
going
well, actually, we are looking at technologies that can help making production, for example, or broadcasting them even from a digital perspective. So virtual, but not so virtual, in a sense that we don't want to go to the extreme of having just surreal and landscapes made by the imagination only. So things that needs to be a real representation of reality. And on the other end, for example, we have seen tools to manage shooting and schedules and activities from beginning, so from pre-production to delivery. So organization, optimization tools, this is a technology that we are going to use for sure. Also because this whole process of sharing stuff, in the beginning, we had tons of things that were not digitalized and it was a nightmare. So now we know that we need to have tools that help us manage the situation, and anyone who's involved in a project needs to go online on the tool, on the project, and see the updated status of it. And from a print perspective, actually, we are gonna introduce, we have already started doing it, the more responsible use of paper and colors that are gonna be green, etc. So this also will help us in the future to stick to our mission of becoming a more sustainable company. I don't like the idea of saying that we are going to become green because it's not going to be possible at all. But a more sustainable company, yes. And in fact, we have our new claim is get the best out of life,
which is
and this is going to be
it's a
our positioning.
very
Yeah,
nice claim.
yeah.
It seems like you're definitely involved with it from the way you look at the world. Look, it has been a very nice conversation. I wish we could have more time because I think we could go on forever and it would be extremely interesting. But I really appreciate you taking the time to share all of this experience and especially the approach and mindset, which is, I think, the most important part of it. Because with that mindset, you're going to make it happen no matter what. There is no pandemic that will stop you anyway, as you proved already. So thank you very much to you, and thank you for everybody who has been watching this episode with Simona Zanette. It has been a pleasure. Thank you, Simona.
Thank you.
And good luck for 2021. Let's see what the new year will bring. I'm sure it's going to be exciting.
Finger crossed.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.